regular antidepressants, you stop taking them and you notice that it takes a few days before you start to get any symptoms. And it is well known about antidepressant discontinuation is it's not something you should just do. And there are well-meaning people who just stop taking their antidepressants. Why? I'm not saying stay on them. I'm saying use your freaking doctor to wean you off of it responsibly. For you to come on here, for you to come on to YouTube and be like, I just stopped taking my antidepressants cold turkey. That's so dumb. I'm sorry. That sounds so mean. And it's probably wrong of me to say if you didn't know any better, because maybe you have an unresponsible prescriber who didn't give you patient education. Do you know how unresponsible that is to do? Maybe you were on a low dose. Maybe your depression wasn't that bad. Maybe for you, the rebound, because there's a rebound, okay, let's say the level of the back of my sofa at the top of this is one of the things I've made, this Afghan. And I actually stitched it together, I think 2 falls ago, I was actually watching Scream. I was watching the whole Scream franchise while I was stitching this together. What was I saying? I don't know. It was about antidepressants. Oh, so let's say this is the positive amount of neurochemicals that you need for your brain to function. Your brain's not functioning properly. You don't have enough of the neurochemicals. Now all of a sudden you're mood swinging, you can't think straight, and now you need to go to a doctor because you're wanting to either not be here anymore if it's very, very severe, or even if it's just you're in despair and you're in your bed and you physically cannot move. And I'm talking about you physically cannot move. I'm not being dramatic, like you physically can't move. You're not physically paralyzed, but it's shocking. It's shocking how it affects your physical abilities as well. We'll talk about that soon. But let's say this is your level of depression. So they put you on an SSRI. I'm not talking about the other forms. We're just talking about SSRIs right now. And so what it does is the little synapses in your brain, the little spaces between, so there's these, do I want to get into this? We'll just say the space in between the 2 neurons. They talk to each other. And there's a little space between the 2 that connect. And that's where the neurochemicals kind of hang out in that little space between them. And so what happens is your brain will release them. They'll be in that space for it to be absorbed and for it to do its job. Then what happens is your body reuptakes it. Your brain takes it back because it wants to reuse it. It's part of its job. Now, if you do not have enough of that neurochemical, like the serotonin in your brain, this pill you're taking is not serotonin. Your SSRI, serotonin reuptake inhibitor, is not serotonin. It's inhibiting, meaning it's stopping your brain from sucking it back up. So either your brain is just taking too much of it back up and now there's not enough there. And your brain's like, I can't function. So what that does, it doesn't make more serotonin. It doesn't give you serotonin. It stops that process of your brain sucking it back up too much so that now you are deficient. Oh, well, it's just mood. You could deal with it. No. You don't have enough insulin. You have, you could have a crisis with the sugar. Too much or too little, you have a stroke or a coma or whatever. This is not our understanding, the common everyday person understanding of some of these things, is we need to share this information. I think that there are some things that I learned, if you haven't taken any medical classes, that will be very helpful for the average person to understand, you know. So that's how they work. And they just suck, your brain uptakes, just sucks it back up to repurpose it. Oh, you're stressed out. We're going to release the serotonin that makes you feel good. So it's there. And then when it thinks you don't need it anymore, maybe it takes too much. And you need a certain amount. You need a certain amount to do basic functioning. So it still keeps some there, but maybe it takes too much. The reuptake inhibitor, serotonin, reuptake it, now it's not there, inhibits it from doing that. So it actually helps prevent your body from taking it away. It doesn't make serotonin. Your body makes its own. It makes its own serotonin. But let's say you're adjusted to taking this medication. This is going to be a nightmare. I'm going to have to edit this. I don't know how. Maybe I'll just post it. What a nightmare. I'm so sorry, guys. But I know that there are very important gems, and my way of talking is just, my communication style is impaired by what I have. So I'm talking in circles, and I start talking about it, and then I get distracted by something else, and I go down rabbit holes, and I'm so sorry. It's probably hard to watch me, but I can't stop it. But it's important for me to tell you about these things, so I haven't figured out how to do it in a more efficient way. I have found some things that are accommodations for me, and we can talk about that because that might help you as well. So, yeah. Nobody's going to watch this 2 hours. Most important part is you stop taking antidepressants, normal, the serotonin reuptake inhibitor type category, and because it builds up in your system over time, and it has a thing called a half-life, which basically means, I want to say the half-life for a medication is the time it takes for half of that medication to be out of your system. It is a similar idea to radiation. Anybody who's taken chemistry and science and knows that a half-life for a radioactive substance, have you ever hear of, my mind just went blank. I can't remember. It's famous. It's in Russia. They had that horrible radiation accident in the 80s. Oh my God, everybody knows it. Everybody knows it. And I can't even think of the name right now, but I'm going blank because I'm tired. I've been talking for almost 2 hours. Anyway, you know what I'm talking about. I don't remember what type of radiation substance is, but you'd hear about these things that could be dangerous when they're released into the environment for a very, very long period of time. So with radiation, they use the concept of half-life. And a half-life is a time measurement. The time that it takes for half of it to be used up. Then that time goes by and another half of that is used up. So it is predictable, but they have to use half-life because of the way that it kind of runs down in that kind of a way. So it's not, anyway, that's the same with medicine. So it's the half-life of a medication is how long it takes for half of it to be gone. So I don't know what the half-life for bupropion and citalopram, because that's what I was taking. But when I first started, when my aunt talked me into taking the medication, and I was against it prior to that, because like I was saying, I falsely thought my family was crazy for believing they had depression, and it turned out I was wrong. I was wrong. I didn't know. I was a kid. I felt, because I had that question, I didn't know. kid, and then as a teenager and as a young adult. Those were my feelings. Because for people who have to take antidepressants, especially over a number of years, over time they might not work as well. Somebody might have to change it. And there were symptoms that somebody close to me would have. And I'm like, is it even helping them? And look what they have to go through. And so I was just like, yeah, I'm not doing that. I felt that it was more helpful for me to take the stand that, well, if you talk yourself into believing you don't have depression, and there is a way that you could just will it, I will find it. Right? No. It actually makes me very, very sad now. I wish I was more open-minded. In my particular case, it took that kind of a crisis of me not wanting to be here and an aunt to talk me into trying this medication that my prescriber made me fill, and I refused to take it, so it sat in my dresser. I did what she said. I'm like, fine, I'll fill it. I was actually just seeking ADHD meds, and she knew I struggled with both, even if I was not admitting it to myself. She knew, because that's her job. They're trained in this. We're not, right? She knew. And at that particular time, which is before I had my separation, I wanted to go back on ADHD medication, and they wouldn't let me because they didn't give it to anybody. They didn't give it to anyone because they didn't want people to abuse it. So here you have a medication that's like the one thing that works, and they wouldn't let you have it. So an off-label use of bupropion is, it also helps people with ADHD. So that's what she prescribed it for me initially. I'm sure it's been a long time. I don't know when exactly I got to that point where I needed to go on medication. Like, I wasn't getting better. I was getting worse. It was bad. It was bad. It was really bad. It was somewhere between 2008 and 2010. So that was the first one I tried. And I was scared to try it because I had a friend who had a very bad reaction to it. And even though I knew, because ever since being diagnosed with ADHD at the age of 25, that was the Y2K era, so that was the year 2000 that I was diagnosed-ish, give or take. It might have been 2001. No, it was 2000. Because I only worked at that place for a year or two. And that was this, yeah, it was 2000. Yeah. That was months before I turned 26. Okay. I was 25. I was born in 74. But my birthday wasn't that summer. And that summer, I had a breakdown. Then